In today's class, we're looking at gradient of a straight line graph, which is also called the slope. Now, how do we find the gradient of a straight line graph? If you notice your graph sheet, on top, you will see that's the graph section. On top, you will see scale. Then you see x-axis, and we'll see our y-axis. Now, on our graph sheet, you notice that we have box of same size inside our graph that forms the graph. Then inside this box, we have 10 lines also. Now, that single box represents 2 centimeters, which is what 10 lines, if you count it, or 10 spaces, like that. Now, since 2 centimeters represents this whole box, it means 1 centimeter represents what? Half. That's if I count 5 from the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the box. Now, how will I now know the reading I'm going to use in a particular graph question? It depends on the values of your x, it depends on the values of your y in that case also. Now, okay, now let's now see what we're going to do in this case. For this question, we're given plot the following graphs on the same axis between the range x equals -4 to x equals 4, determining the gradient of each. So I want to find the gradient of each of these functions. Each of these functions, I want to find the gradient of each of them. How will I look for it? Now, solution. The first thing you need to do is what? Is to find the table of each of these using what? -1 to 4. And then in that case then, what will I have? For this first one, given that my x is what? -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my x. Now, for y equals x, it's the same thing as this. Okay, for y equals x, same thing as this. So I can just do this, or I just write it -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. For y equals 3x plus 7, it means I multiply some by 3, then add 7 to it. So -4 times 3 is -12, plus 7, that's -5. -3 times 3 is -9, plus 7, that's -2. So it's like we're adding 3 to it. Plus 3 should give me 1, plus 3 will give me 4, plus 3 will give me 7, plus 3 will give me 10, plus 3 will give me 13, plus 3 is 17, 16. Plus 3 then is what? 19. For y equals -4x plus 4, we'll have the same thing. So I'll just quickly do all this and then we'll come back to the question. Okay, so now from then, after doing all this, we're going to have all this as what? This. So to make it easy, that's why I put everything under the same values of x, because in the question we're giving x as -4 to 4 in that case then. Now, this is the values of all these then. We now have to what? Plot the graph of each of these linear equations. Okay, we have to plot the graph of each of those linear equations. So I'm going to have this as this. Now remember, this is my positive y, this is my what? Negative y, this is my negative x, this is my what? Positive x, and so on. Now, what's the highest value of my y? I have 16 here, I have 19 here, I have 20 here. Okay, so I can use 4. Let me use 4. Let me use 4 to be on this far side. Okay, so this is 0, this is -4, okay, then for my y, that's for my x, now, what do we have? The highest is what? -4. So I can still use -1 to 4 here. -1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it means that on my scaling, as I illustrated earlier, my x will be what? 1 unit to what? 2 centimeter. 2 centimeter is what? 1 box. So that's 1 unit to 2 centimeter. My y is going to be what? 4 units to what? 2 centimeter also. In that case, then you should be able to continue your box. Now this is a graph. Let's now plot each of them. For y equals x, I'm going to have all this. So let me plot everything again. Then we'll come back to what? To the question. Okay, so now this is all what we have here. Now after plotting, we have this as what? My y equals minus 4x plus 4, which is number C. We have this as number D. We have this as what? Our B, and we have this as A. This first one here, y equals x. This one. Yeah. Okay. This one here is our, this is our y equals x, I mean, this is our y equals 3x plus 7. Now that's the graph. Take your time to plot the graph very well. Now, then from there, what do we have? From there, I'm not to find the gradient. Now, to find the gradient of a straight line graph is as simple as saying, trace for any graph now, say for this graph now, look for where this straight line passes through x and y. This straight line on your graph, look for where it passes through x and y exactly. Any point, there will be many, there will be more than one actually. So, but whichever you choose, just make sure that the gap between this and this is enough. It's not like it's going to be this, you know, this is too small. Look for a graph that, a point, you know, on your graph that what this straight line passes through x and y here and somewhere down of the graph, you know. Then you will join it like that. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to have this as, let me just draw this as like this. Okay, so now what do I have there? This is what? 16. For this 3x plus 7, what's the last one? 3x plus 7, 19 I mean. So the gradient formula is going to be what? Gradient or slope formula is what? Change in y over what? Change in x. That's change in the vertical axis or change in the what? Horizontal axis. So what is on my vertical axis? That's ty. Okay? And this is the same as what? Y2 minus y1 over what? X2 minus what? X1. That's the meaning of this change. Then from there, I'll have what? My y2 will be up here. My y1 will be down here. My x2 will be here. My x1 will be here. Okay? Now, y2, what's my y2? You have to trace to my y graph. What's my x2? Trace to my what? X graph. I just pick the maximum value of y and the minimum value of y for this graph so I can easily explain it. So, just trace it to your graph. That's 19. So that will be 19 minus, the minimum is what? Is 7, I believe. Okay? That's for the positive. That's 7 on this place here. 19 minus 7 over 4x, trace it down. That's 4 minus, this is what? That's 0 automatically. So I'm going to have this as what? 19 minus 7 here is what? Is 6. I mean it's 12. Over 4. So 12 over 4 there is what? 3. It means that my what? My slope for this question B is what? Is 3. For this also, you're also going to do the same thing. Pick a point here, join them together, make this your y2, make this your y1, make this your x2, make this your x1, then what? Find it. The same thing for this, the same thing for y equals x. And that's going to be all. So, remember the formula, slope equals what? Y2 minus y1 about x minus x1, which we call as m.